Hello, this is Joe, and welcome back to the channel. I haven't had much luck with the weather lately. The last 2 weeks, I've just had nothing but rain, like behind me. It's raining again. It'll be coming this way pretty soon. But it wasn't all bad. Kurt from AstroQuest 1 came to visit me. He was in the area while he was on vacation with his family, and I got to meet him and his family, and it was really great experience to meet him in person. He's got a video on his YouTube channel. Yeah, I'll put a link in the description below to that if you want to check it out later. He got to come in and tour my observatory and stuff, and we had a lot of fun. So a few people have asked me how I go about getting my targets, or how I decide on what targets I'm going to take. And I thought, yeah, that'd be kind of a cool video. And honestly, what I really rely on the most is Telescopius. It's a website. It's almost like its own little program, but it's all web based. And I thought we'd go over it real quick and I'd show you what I do. So here we are in Telescopius. And what I really like about this program is that you can go over here to targets and click on deep sky. And from here, you can give it all kinds of cool parameters, and it's going to find the targets for you so that you don't have to know beforehand what you were looking for. So for instance, in here, it gets dark about 9:30 at night, and it stays dark until about 4 a.m. this time of the year. And my observatory walls are 20 degrees, so in here you could put 20 degrees. Now, if I wouldn't probably go below 20 degrees unless the target that you're after doesn't really get up higher than that. I know there's some targets I go for that, are only like 15 degrees above the horizon. However, you have a lot of atmosphere to shoot through. So it's probably best to stay really above 30. You're going to start to get better guiding above 30 degrees. But my observatory walls are 20 degrees, so that's what I'm going to set. And I want to at least get 4 hours per night, or 4 hours even total on the object. And right now we've got quite a bright moon out, so I'm going to say to stay at least 90 degrees away from the moon. This will give me a pretty decent chance at doing some narrowband. And if I really want to do color with the moon out, which I normally don't do, I would probably come down here and say, get me far, far away from the moon. So if we wanted to shoot the Whirlpool galaxy, for instance, because it's popped up here, you could see the moon curve on here, and I believe you can activate the moon curve right here by clicking on this little gear. And I like doing that because I could see where the moon is, and I could tell that the moon isn't going to really affect me shooting this target that much. And the other nice thing about this is that we could put in the object type. So for instance, again, with the bright moon out, I don't want to do any dark nebula, so I won't check that. And I probably really, to be honest, won't do galaxies either with the moon this bright. So we could uncheck the galaxies. And you could see this changing in real time as you check these. You can make other changes as well, like the apparent size or magnitude. Now, if you're going to be looking for doing more wide field, you most likely would come in here and you could tell it the sizes if you know them. But to make things easy, this is pretty much what I do. And I can come in here and say, oh, the Lagoon Nebula, I could see right away that I won't really have a whole lot of time on this, but I can see it for a little while, and I can get some imaging in on it if I wanted to do that, say for the first part of the night, and then work my way through the list and find something that I can switch over to later in the second part of the night. That works as well. Now, the other cool thing about Telescopius is that I'm just going to go ahead and click on the Lagoon Nebula because it's here. And I could show you what I'm talking about. You get the telescope simulator down here. And by actually logging into Telescopius, I can set my observatory settings, which is basically just telling it where you are. You get some weather forecasting, which is nice. But the biggest thing is that I could populate this with all my telescopes. So for right now, I've got an effective focal length of 447 millimeters, and that's because I have the William Optics Z81 selected. And I can come in here and I can switch over to the SCT. And you can see with the SCT, I've got the 0.7 reducer on it. So I could click on that. And then I can come over here to my camera. And I can choose the 294, for instance, which is what I usually pair up my Edge 8 with. And we could see what it would look like. Now, of course, this is too big to actually get the Lagoon Nebula in. And the reason that I have my current field of view turned at 90 degrees is because this is how my camera is currently set up on my telescope. But if I did want to try and squeeze this in, you can come in here and I could see what it would look like if I turn this, back to 0. I'd have a much better shot at squeezing that in. But most likely what I would do is I would be using the Z81, and I would probably most likely with the Z81 be using the 2600. And then I could see, well, all right, let me see if I could squeeze in some other nebulosities. I think that's the Trifid Nebula, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe I want to get them both in the same field of view at the same time. I mean, that actually looks really nice that way, and might be something worth looking at for later for taking. Now, if you know what you're shooting for, this is also nice as well. Like this, I could say, give me the Pac-Man Nebula. You type in Pac-Man, it brings up the Pac-Man Nebula, and you could see that it comes up just a little bit later in the evening, but it kind of goes with that moon. So the moon's gonna kind of shadow it the whole way. It's going to be very close to the moon, so we normally wouldn't take this image. Another tool that I use a lot of is Stellarium. Now, this is Stellarium Web, but I would probably recommend, or absolutely recommend, getting the actual program and putting it on your computer that you use to control your telescope, and then hooking that up into Nina. But that's a video for another time. But I thought right now it'd just be really easy just to come into Stellarium Web and show you what it looks like. And the nice thing about this is you could just be browsing on your tablet or whatever to pick an object, in the daytime. You could be messing around with this and then kind of have an idea of what you want to go for at night. But the cool thing about this is that I can take this slider here and I could see where it's going to be at every point of the night. And the only thing with this program, though, is that you need to know your target already. So if you're trying to search for a target, this is kind of difficult to use. I mean, I can click off of there and I could just go into the Milky Way and I could start looking for targets. This is probably the least efficient way to do things, but I have used it before. I think that's the Wizard Nebula, I believe. Yeah. And you just come in here and click around. So if all else fails and Telescopius doesn't work for you, you could always steal an image, like I did here.
Okay, cool. I'll grab it.
Yeah, we'll have a look at what you're imaging.
Dude, look at that galaxy.
Wow, that's really cool.
Dude, I've never seen that galaxy before.
What's it called?
I don't know, but I like it.
I'm stealing that.
I was thinking the same thing. And then, of course, another great place to, I guess, steal images is Astrobin and Instagram. I could just come to the main wall on Astrobin, and this is usually what people have just submitted. So, this was something submitted, the Flaming Tower, just 12 hours ago. So that means that, by looking here, I know this is the stuff that's up right now because people are submitting these. They just took them. So this is also something that I should be able to see, at least if I'm looking at Northern Hemisphere targets on here. And when I find something I like, and usually it's in the Southern Hemisphere and I'm disappointed, but when I find something I like, I can click on it and it's going to give me all the information on it. Now I could take this NGC 3324 and I can go look in Telescopius or Stellarium for it, and just come in here and say NGC 3324, and as you can see, this is in the Southern Hemisphere as usual. All the cool stuff seems to be very sad. use Instagram and you go to Astrophotography search, or if you use Twitter and go to Astrophotography search, you find a lot of cool things that a lot of other people are taking. And the only difference here, and again, if you have a bunch of people that you're following in your timeline, they're going to be shooting the latest stuff out. So maybe searching for astrophotography in here isn't that good because you're going to see a lot of things, but like the Dark Bat Nebula. Now, I just heard about this the other day because Glenn was asking me if I wanted to take an image of it. And I imagine that he saw it on Instagram and said, aha, now look at how beautiful this is. Let's try and take an image of it. And so, you find it. It's LDN 43. When I do find images like this, I try and give credit to the person who I originally saw the image from. This is a really nice image, by the way. I don't know who shot this. This is Astrobin's image of the day, actually. So, by GMAD Cat. Cool. Yeah, that's very cool. So yeah, that's how I find new things too. So that's the way I find my targets for astrophotography, and I'd love to hear the way that you guys find yours. If you could drop that in the comments below, I would really appreciate it. I'm always looking for new ways, new websites, new applications to find targets as well. And once you do find that target, if you want to know how long your sublength exposure should be or how high the gain on your camera should be, you should check out this video right here.